and the will to do it, that he did it. Now, of course, then this was a very young person, and they immediately went and told 4chan all about it under their real name. Okay, so we got the material. We protected him completely from our end, but you know, he gave his handle and name and plenty of details to 4chan. So that's an example of what not to do. Just act like an adult, and don't tell all your drinking buddies immediately, and until you see what the political fallout is. Usually, if the political fallout is high, that's good. If you reveal the matter that exposes some injustice, that's usually good, because it means everyone is so busy dealing with the political fallout that they actually have no time to investigate the source. Trying to think of an example where that hasn't been true. For us, I don't think there is one. The Attorney General not the Attorney General, the Inspector General in the United States is still investigating the CRS leak. But you know, it's completely obvious to me. But I don't know why they're still investigating it. It's an obvious thing. Yes, we had. Actually, I won't mention that. But we were given details about how to access that material. But of course, that is not a crime. And in fact, even just giving us all the material is not a crime. If a Congress member gives us all the CRS leaks, this violates a very small Senate rules thing, which is really, you know, not of much consequence. Things that are of consequence is after that leak, a number of US newspapers reported on it, and Senator McCain and Lieberman then proposed to release all of them on a permanent basis, given that they were just being leaked anyway. And that would actually be a great outcome. That bill is still before the Senate, and we'll see what happens.
One more comment, though, on this physical security issue. If you're the way that WikiLeaks is structured is there are many people involved that are addressing parts of the work that needs to be done for this project, and then there's a few people that have that appear on a stage somewhere like here. So maybe these people have a slight higher public exposure, and if there would be physical threats, these people would have to live with that. But I guess anyone who thinks more than 2 minutes about engaging into something like this would realize that there are many more people involved that are still doing this work. So it wouldn't really help intimidating anyone or threatening any single person. It would actually just blow back in your face, because it would become clear maybe who is pressuring someone. This would get publicity. You would maybe have to defend yourself, be very careful about how you approach these things. So it wouldn't really make any sense, at least from my perspective, to put anyone into any physical trouble. And I'm not really scared of anything in that respect. So, and the whole project is structured in a way that no one that is public can be compromised, that then would compromise the whole project in a way that it ceases to exist or cannot be continued anymore, or anything similar to that. So I think that was what your question was aiming at. It's also psychologically very important, if you're doing this, that you do not show that fear, or you do not promote that fear to others. That's a very important part as well, in respect to talking to all of you whom we would like to motivate to do some useful work maybe, as well as to all the sources we have that put much more on the line in some cases than we do. So for us, it's maximum some legal trouble. That is a little uncomfortable, I guess, but for someone who is risking his whole career path, or maybe the stability he can offer for his family by doing something for them, it's a completely different story. So the focus has to be to protecting these people. And that's where also, I guess, a physical end is more important than with what we're doing. Is there any question? Yeah.
Yes, I'm a German journalist, sometimes receiving content which might be of interest from Wikileaks. Why should I choose Wikileaks instead of, let's say, a German coalition like Chaos Computer Club, which is always receiving documents and freeing them anonymously?
Okay, so there are a couple of aspects to this question. The first question is in respect to whom to publish with. If you look at what Cryptome, for example, is doing, which on some level might be similar to what we are doing as well. So it is they have a long history of publishing information that partly has been withheld from the public. So the problem is that most websites that might publish this material in fully would not really be able to promote it to the media, to the public. These organizations like the Chaos Computer Club are not existing to actually actively bring material into the public and make sure that it receives attention and that it also receives the impact it deserves. So that might be one point why it's different publishing it with an entity that is journalistically oriented rather than just with an entity that might be interested in the subject. The second point in general is that what we are doing is we're aiming at making sure that the material we publish remains online for the public as a publication for eternity, basically. So in the long run, that's the goal we are aiming at. So the Chaos Computer Club, or I think the Chaos Computer Club is maybe a bad example, but any other entity that is not specifically there as a publishing entity might not share the same value for keeping this information online in the same way that you would like to see it online. So there surely are many ways to publish material, but from our perspective, especially if the material is anyhow problematic for you as a source, it's very important that it's done right and that people take care of a lot of detail that comes along with such a submission. I hope that answered. I'm not sure, Julian might have another comment on that. So.
Yeah, just a small comment on that. If the material is relevant to a particular geographic community, your best way of getting the story out is to publish, say, in some newspaper that is very popular in that region and have that newspaper also release the material concurrently with us. There are problems in that as far as protecting the source is concerned. We've seen many cases where newspapers have not correctly removed metadata information from material they released, and sources have been revealed. As a result, they don't have continual expertise in how to do that. And sometimes the material itself can be legally problematic. Very often newspaper websites will refuse to release any commercial document, as an example. Sometimes in the UK, often any government document, because there's Crown copyright. The United States is quite good for releasing US government documents, but not for commercial documents. There's a high chance to be litigated. So combined release is also possible. If you're writing a story for a newspaper, then we take the legal, as one journalist said, so what you're saying is you guys take all the legal risk and I get all the fame. And the answer is yes. So we're specialized in dealing with the legal risks, in keeping the document up. People, when they attack legally, will attack the easiest part in a legal sense to attack, which is usually the provision of the full document and not the story. Now that depends a little bit on the country and the motivation. They actually may be motivated just to beat the journalist around a bit by wasting their time in court, and there's nothing precisely that we can do about that.